is now there is suggested up to 245% tariff on some goods from China. Afternoon, happy Thursday. We will be catching you up on the latest of the tariff news as things sort of start to settle out a little bit here today. My name is Brandon Steele, financial advisor with Mainsail Financial Group, and our goal every Thursday is to bring to you the market news, the data, the trends that we're watching, hopefully weed out a bit of the noise along the way. And again, our focus primarily for this week, yet again, will be kind of just an update on where we stand with some of the tariff news. Not to say that the data isn't important, but obviously that is really where markets have been focused over the past 2 weeks or so. But just like last week, it's, maybe slowed up a bit more here this week as well in terms of the big headline stories and extreme, anyways, angst. Not to say angst isn't there. So we will touch on that, but before I do touch on that briefly, I want to share some of the data that's come out this week. So last week we covered a bit on inflation, but on Friday we also got producer price index data, so another measurement of inflation. PPI on Friday was actually down 0.4%. Yes, down 0.4%, believe it or not. Now we've seen signs of this in the past as well, so don't take this, too heavily. Core was up 0.1%, which is a little bit below expectations as well, which does kind of all tie to the CPI data that we got last week. So 1 month, certainly, of what looks to be good inflation data. We will continue to keep an eye on it. Again, we've seen these kind of flashes in the pan before too. So what obviously we would want to see, and I'm sure the Fed would as well, is maybe more of a continued path on this. So next month's data will be really important to watch, of course, as well. We also had retail sales come out just yesterday on Wednesday. Retail sales were up 1.4%, which is really interesting, right? Even with all the confidence and consumer sentiment and you name it kind of coming down so far this year, it seems that we just keep on spending. So again, retail sales were up 1.4%. And then, of course, the big news is around the tariffs. So what I'll share just briefly is some of the market reactions up to this point, and then I'll share a brief update of kind of the most recent news. So given all the tariff stuff going on, obviously 2 weeks ago was the big update, the news on Wednesday. And we shared briefly kind of our thoughts and that it's going to be important to kind of watch this closely of what comes out. The following Thursday, obviously, we saw a lot of ups and downs. And we saw basically a change in stance on the tariff policy with basically a reduced tariff across the EU and some of the countries that didn't slap on retaliatory tariffs. And as a result, it's really been primarily US and China now, right? That's been the main focus of the tariff news. And since last Thursday, what we saw were, obviously we saw a big bounce last week when some of that news came out about the other countries. Friday markets were up pretty good. Monday markets were up pretty good. Tuesday markets were down slightly. Wednesday, just yesterday, markets down pretty big. And then today looks to be kind of in the middle, let's call it, like relatively flat, depending on the index you look at. But through all of this, gold has been up really big as well. But here we are on Thursday, just yesterday, and then some news that's kind of carried into today as well, is now there is suggested up to 245% tariff on some goods from China. Keep in mind, I don't believe it's for everything, so keep this in mind when you see these headline numbers. A lot of time what this means is that it's a tariff on top of a tariff on top of a tariff for certain things. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you see some of these tariff numbers saying 125% before, now 245% at this point. It may depend on the good we're referring to and also how the tariffs stack on top of each other. But obviously a lot of this, I don't know if it'll stick the way it is either. What I will share is that Trump said today that there will be EU tariff deals and expects to make a very good deal, I think was what he said, with China. Now, obviously, whether that happens or not is where only the future will tell. But hopefully we'll start seeing some deals being made and at least some clarity on what's to come, because I don't think this tit for tat with China is going to necessarily be where this goes forever. I think all this from both sides is likely to figure out some way to negotiate and get to a place. And when we find that place, that's where we'll really be able to, evaluate what this all means longer term. So a slower update, I guess, in general from data as well as tariff side of it, because now at least it's a little more focused on US and China for at least the big market moving data. But I will share that we do have a little bit of a breather. Markets are closed tomorrow for Good Friday. So, if you're working, enjoy the workday. If not, enjoy the 3-day weekend. But either way, markets will be closed for trading. And then we also have leading economic indicators coming up on Monday and new home sales data. So be sure to tune in next Thursday. We will skip our question of the week this week because we do have a client event tonight. But in the meantime, enjoy your upcoming weekend. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, it looks like we're in for another nice sunny weekend. So enjoy the weather, and we will see you next Thursday at 3.